back, everybody. We are going to continue with our notes for 8.1.2. So let's just go ahead and get to it. Okay, so we're going to talk more about the graphs of these polynomials. And so we're going to go from these number line graphs to then thinking about what the graph would look like. And so anytime that we have the bolded, that means that it's going to be positive or above the x-axis. And so what I mean by bolded, that's these sections right here and here. And so then the unbolded parts are where it's going to be negative or below the x-axis. And so the way that this would look, we know that it's going to be above, below, above, below. Okay, so then if we want to write a possible equation, we know that our x-intercepts dictate what the factors are. So this would be x plus 3 and x plus 1, and then x minus 4. And so we know that all of these factors are just going to be the factors themselves because they cross through each of the x-intercepts. And so with this, it could be a cubic function. We don't actually know, but this is a possibility for what the equation could be. So let's now look at example 2. And so again, these bolded parts, so this is bolded here, here, and here. So the only part that is actually going to be below the x-axis is this portion. Now, what's going to happen is it's actually going to go down to 0 and bounce, go down to 2 and bounce, and then come back up. And so with that, again, we want to write our equation. So this is going to be y equals. We also know that it's positive because it's ending up, and so we don't have to put a negative out in front. And so with this, we know that our x-intercepts are x plus 5 because of the negative 5 x-intercept. The 0 just means that x is going to be there. And then x minus 2. And so then because we have the bounces here and here, that means that we have to have an exponent of at least 2 for both of those x-intercepts, for both of those factors. So this would be x squared and x minus 2 squared. And so typically we see if it's just x squared, we'll see that in front. So I'm going to rewrite this as y equals x squared, x plus 5, x minus 2 squared. Okay, so now when we're going from the equation to that number line, it's a little bit, it can be a little bit trickier. And so what I would suggest doing is making a quick sketch of the graph similar to what we did in 1.2 or 8.1.2 part 1. So the previous video. So we know that our x-intercepts are going to be at 2, 0 and at negative 5, 0. And then because of the exponents, we know it's going to cross at 2, 0, and it's going to bounce at negative 5, 0. And so we also know that our degree is going to be 3, and then it's positive. And so just making a quick sketch of the graph, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. And so we know that because it's a degree of 3 and it's positive, it's going to be down, up. And so then we're going to start down, bounce at 5, and then cross through at 2. And so then our number line, we're going to put -5, and 2 with open circles because those are our zeros. And then the only thing that we're going to shade is from 2 to infinity because that's the only time that it's above the x-axis. And so if we're shading ourselves, we just shade like this, or if you have a highlighter, you could also use a highlighter to signify that shading. Okay, so then for this next one, so this -0.1, the only thing that that tells us is that it's going to be a negative orientation. And so our degree, because we have this x and then the x cubed, our degree would be 4 with a negative orientation. And so our x-intercepts would be 0, 0, and that one's going to cross because there isn't an exponent on the x. And then we would have -4, 0. And this is going to cross or wiggle through. And so then the graph would look something kind of like this. So it's gonna, so because we have a degree of 4 and it's negative, it's going to be down, down. So we're gonna start down. It's going to go through, wiggle through -4, come up, cross through 0, and go back down. And so then as we want to just make this number line, we would have -4 and 0. We'd have open circles above both of those. And then the only place that it's positive is in between -4 and 0. So we shade that portion. And so that would be our answer. So the number line is your answer for these problems. So that is all for today. If you guys have any questions, please be sure to pop on for any of the office hours, and I will see you later.